Hi friends, without wasting time, let's get started. 7554 is a first-person shooter set during the Vietnam War, offering a gritty and immersive experience reminiscent of classic war games. James Bond Quantum of Solace, a hybrid first-person and third-person shooter that covers events from Quantum and Casino Royale. The game is fun, but it doesn't feel very Bond-like. It's more comparable to Gears of War or Rainbow Six Vegas. Bionic Commando is a fast-paced action game with a unique swinging mechanic, providing exhilarating gameplay similar to the Spider-Man series. Darkest of Days. Look at that. This underrated gem released in 2009 is just a low-budget game that still looks good to this day. And, of course, even low-end laptops can run it easily. Dark is an immersive stealth action game set in a supernatural world of vampires, but it may suffer from some gameplay flaws. Code of Honor 3, Desperate Measures is an intense first-person shooter game that puts players in the shoes of a skilled special forces operative, offering thrilling combat and challenging missions, although it may suffer from some dated graphics and repetitive gameplay elements. Uber Soldier 2 Crimes of War, an alternate history first-person shooter where you play as a genetically enhanced soldier battling Nazis during World War II. The Turing Test, explore the mysteries of a distant moon base in this first-person puzzle game, testing your wits and morality in a thought-provoking narrative. The Punisher, a third-person shooter where you play as the Marvel anti-hero, using brutal tactics to take down criminals and corrupt officials in New York City. The Eye of the Dragon, an RPG where you play as a dragon, defending your territory from invading forces and gaining power by destroying villages and hunting creatures. Syndicate. This game is honestly fantastic. It has a story to keep you pulled in, tight controls, an amazing soundtrack done by Skrillex, Nero, Flax Pavilion, and Digitalism. Splinter Cell: Conviction. Conviction is the perfect evolution for Sam Fisher's series. The gameplay is smooth and dynamic, and even if the graphics are not the best of this generation, this last Splinter Cell delivers some serious action. Sniper: Ghost Warrior. This game is awesome. The single player is a lot of fun but kind of short. I think you could beat it in about 4 to 5 hours. Sniper Elite 3. Sniper Elite 3's open-level designs and objectives pack in more than enough variety and stealthy tension to counterbalance its thin story and shaky enemy intelligence. Saints Row 4. A combination of sublime and ridiculous, Saints Row 4 is outlandish fun. Richard Burns Rally. Most people prefer arcade-style games like Need for Speed. Maybe that's why Richard Burns Rally didn't was popular, but small community is still alive and tons of mods available. So if you love rally sim, try this gem. Rage. A must-have for both fans of FPS and sandbox games because it succeeds in both genres. An addictive and furiously violent video game that will be breathtaking for every action fan. X-Blades. This game sells itself on being a hack and slash with a scantily clad female protagonist. That's what it is. Don't expect a AAA story or groundbreaking graphics, but it's still fun if you don't take it too seriously. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine, a fast-paced action game set in a futuristic universe, similar to Gears of War, where you play as a super soldier battling hordes of alien enemies. Wanted Weapons of Fate, a third-person shooter based on the Wanted film franchise, featuring intense gunplay and bullet-curving mechanics. Bayonetta. Bayonetta is a classic hack and slash over-the-top button-mashing mayhem where the player controls the namesake Bayonetta. Batman Arkham City. If you love Batman, you're gonna love this game. If you don't love Batman, then you'll enjoy the game too, as it doesn't go over the head of a casual fan's head with the story. Art of Rally, a stylish racing game with a retro aesthetic, reminiscent of classic rally games, featuring challenging tracks and beautiful landscapes. Grand Theft Auto 4. This is the darkest and the most serious GTA game to this date. And the game physics are so much better in GTA 4 than in GTA 5. Medal of Honor: Airborne. This game is perfect. I am a World War II geek and a snob about the games. I always botch the landing, but I love it. It is a great game. Gears of War. Even after all these years, Gears of War is still relevant and playable, as it aged really well. When it arrived, it was an incredible game. But for folks that still haven't played it, try it, it is still interesting and engaging. Fahrenheit. It is more like an interactive movie than a true video game. However, it is a great experience, with my only complaint being the storytelling in the latter half. It is an action-adventure where you investigate a murder mystery. El Matador is like Max Payne, featuring intense shootouts and dynamic show motion sequences that keep players on the edge of their seats, so if you like Max Payne, Try this game too. Driver is San Francisco, so underrated game. The car's handling is great. San Francisco is nearly perfect and the progression system and online modes are great. Demon Icon is a gripping action RPG set in a dark fantasy world, featuring thrilling combat and a captivating storyline reminiscent of the Elder Scrolls series, providing hours of immersive gameplay. Crysis. But can it run Crysis? That meme never gets old, but many people misunderstand because Crysis runs on low-end PCs. However, to this day there is no gaming PC that can run Crysis at maximum graphics settings with a stable frame rate. Colin McRae, That 2. Colin McRae, That 2 is a pretty good mixture between a complex simulation and an action-based racer thanks to its compelling presentation. Call of Juarez, The Cartel. This game ain't that bad. If you can feel the atmosphere in it, then it's a beautiful game and you will have a lot of fun. Call of Duty, Black Ops 2. Single player is unique to the COD games with the inclusion of an actually good story with critical player choices and engaging gunplay. Borderlands 2. Speaking of floating numbers, you must give Borderlands a try if you didn't already. You can start right from the best game of the franchise. Blah. Fun arcade-style racing with lots of cars and is a good way to kill time, but if you are expecting a very strict driving sim, then this game is not for you. BioShock Infinite. This game is one of the best story experiences I have ever played. The art/design is amazing, really showing what a floating city in the sky can be seen as. The graphics complement this really well too. Turning Point, Fall of Liberty. This is an old-budget World War II shooter game, and the campaign is only 3 hours long, so don't expect too much. However, it runs well on every low-end PC. Torchlight 2. This is the game we have all dreamed during these years to succeed Diablo 2. In the future it will be seen as a true legend, a classic, on the same level as Half-Life, Kotea 1, Civilization 1 and Grim Fandango. The Witcher 2, The Assassins of Kings. A long, complex, deep and adult game which becomes one of the best PC RPGs these last years, although its high difficulty level might set back some players. The First Templar. Masterwork, great story, beautiful music, atmospheric, cultural content, addicting combat system, perfect learning curve. Star Wars, The Force Unleashed 2. The Force Unleashed 2 is a good game. However, I would be hesitant to call it a good Star Wars game. The original Force Unleashed did a good job building on Star Wars mythos in a way that was interesting but non-intrusive. It presented a simple story that featured plenty of thematic elements seen in both the original and prequel trilogy. Soldier of Fortune, Payback. Overall, this game isn't the best game ever made, but it had great ragdoll physics. If you're into gore, you love it. So the video game is like experiencing a movie, where players are immersed in a suspenseful and terrifying atmosphere, facing challenges similar to those in the Saw movie series. Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 is only an amazing game, a label that the 90% of the third-person shooters would want for themselves. The cooperative mode is just sensational and the story mode is plenty filled with non-stop action. The huge amount of contents will make you forget the lack of any kind of innovation in its concept. Prototype 2. It's very similar to the first game with a few improvements. If you did not like the first game, do not bother with this one. Remember Me, a futuristic action-adventure game with a unique memory manipulation mechanic, allowing you to alter people's perceptions and rewrite history. Batman: Arkham Origins. Overall, not as good as the previous Arkham games, but still pretty damn good, with a really cool story and the same good old combat from the previous games. Assetto Corsa is another great optimized low-spec, friendly masterpiece. AC is a wonderful racing simulator, inheriting the technical proficiency of Simbin's GTR2 and a factor modding attitude, and bringing them both to a new level. Need for Speed, Shift. My main issue with this game is that it's called Need for Speed, but it's quite different from the other NFS games. If EA had released it as a standalone game, things would be better. I included it in this video because overall, it's not a bad game and runs smoothly on a low-end PC. Ghost Recon: A Future Soldier. The concept is great, and this game is definitely designed to be played with a friend. Enslaved: Odyssey to the West is a thrilling action-adventure game set in a post-apocalyptic world, featuring engaging storytelling and exciting combat similar to the Uncharted series, making it a must-play experience. DMC: Devil May Cry. Combat and gameplay of this is fantastic, only problem is the short story and the boss commit. Otherwise the game is pretty good. I love the graphics and environment. I run smoothly on i3 with Intel HD graphics. Dirt 3. This is a very good game, but if you have played that too, it just don't feel as high octane. There is a lot of new and different cars, the tracks are different and varied. The game looks a lot better than that too, but there's no more fireworks exploding when you jump or music in the menus, which made the game feel a little more exciting. Dead Island. Dead Island is an open world, first-person view, zombie survival horror with item collection and character skill advancement trees. It's as if Borderlands and Dead Rising got together and had a baby. That baby would be Dead Island. Command & Conquer Red Alert 3, a real gem. Although it have spoiled CNC since they took over, they got this one right. The gameplay is both slightly new and traditional. It is still lightning fast, but having new elements like single mines for resources and full-on naval battles. Bulletstorm is a fast-paced action-packed shooter game filled with creative kills. The gameplay is intense and the environment allows you to stylishly take down enemies in spectacular ways. This War of Mine is a good tactical game that not everyone will be able to understand what is going on in the game. It's a relatively survival game that reminds you of the grey and grim of war. The adventure combined with a little story behind make the game very realistic. The Saboteur, become a resistance fighter in Nazi-occupied Paris, using stealth and guerrilla tactics to liberate the city from oppression. The Lord of the Rings War in the North, join the Fellowship in an epic co-op action RPG, battling the forces of Sauron in Untold Tales from Middle-earth. Street Racing Syndicate. It's an old-school arcade racer similar to Just or Need for Speed Underground. So, if you love girls and fast cars in the early 2000s, this is the game for you. Spec Ops is the line. This game has, unlike other shooters, a very strong story in the campaign. The voice acting is fabulous, the art style is excellent, the sound is amazing. Rise, Son of Rome, an action-packed hack-and-slash game set in ancient Rome, featuring brutal combat and cinematic visuals inspired by Gladiator and 300. Rainbow Six Vegas 2. The cover mechanics, the little firearms, the satisfaction of working with a smart team, plus maps that couldn't get done in time for the single-player game and some returning classics make multiplayer golden. Watchman, the end is nigh. If you were looking for a game to help time pass, look no further. Watchman has a great combat system, good-looking graphics, and a short story. Banished. This type of game is really rare and hard to make it good. A masterpiece of both city building and strategy as a whole. The fact is that this game is made by one guy is making it more amazing. Need for Speed, The Run. I have mixed feelings about NFS Run, in missing features of NFS Underground. The Most Wanted carbon and game is very short, scripted and linear, but whole game was breathtaking and I really enjoyed it. I loved cinematic experience. Max Payne 3. Great game with a good plot and fun action. You get to play a far-bold American hero with a drinking addiction who is capable of taking. Fear 3. I really love the Fear games. When I find out that F3AR is coming, it was a fascinating game. It is tell story how did Paxton Fettel and Pointman meet young Olma Wade when they were kids in the flashbacks. Dying Light. The story is strong compared to Dead Island, the parkour matches and sometimes is even better than Mirror Edges. And the combat is actually awesome. Deadfall Adventures. If you enjoy the Tomb Raider games, you love this game. This underrated first-person shooter has many puzzle elements, and the story feels like a cross between the Mummy and Indiana Jones movies. Dark Messiah of Might and Magic has awesome badass combat system where you can kick enemies off ledges, slash them with swords, and cast spells for intense battles. So this game is like the Elder Scrolls Skyrim but possibly even better. Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 is a dark fantasy action-adventure game where players must battle ancient and formidable enemies as a vampire, although some challenging parts of the game may feel somewhat repetitive. Burnout Paradise. This game is pure fun. It's a do whatever you want to do game. If you have to drive all the way back, I have fun doing it. Black Site Area 51 is a budget game, so don't expect too much from it. It's a first-person shooter game depicting the battle of American soldiers against aliens at the iconic secret location, but unfortunately, it suffers from a weak storyline and monotonous gameplay, but it's still fun to play it. Victor Vran, an action RPG with a focus on fast-paced combat and customizable playstyles, offering a refreshing twist on the genre with its dynamic challenges and movement mechanics. The Pirate Plague of the Dead, a strategy game where you command a fleet of pirate ships, plundering the seas and spreading chaos in a Caribbean-inspired setting. The Cursed Crusade, embark on a dark and gritty journey through medieval Europe, facing off against supernatural foes as you seek to lift a deadly curse. Splinter Cell: A Blacklist. Blacklist sees Sam Fisher and his covert posse returning to the series' sneaky happy roots in good form, and it's easily one of the best stealth offerings I've delved into in a long time. Singularity. This is a Doom 3-inspired game with a strong dose of Bioshock and a brush of Half-Life 2. I love this game for the gunfights, over-the-top powers. Overlord 2, a fantasy-themed action-adventure game where you control a powerful sorcerer and command hordes of minions to conquer the land, similar to Pikmin but with a darker twist. Avatar, the game. At the time this game was released, the graphics were considered amazing. I remember that I liked the movie and decided to give the game a chance. I remember that the time to finish the game was short, but enough for some fun. Alpha Protocol. Alpha Protocol is the game of the genre similar to Mass Effect series, but in the espionage setting of post-Cold War on terrorism. Enemy Front. Just good WW2 shooter. Refreshes old memories made while playing Medal of Honor series or Call of Duty. Made by Not Big Studio. This game is so much fun. I really like that Deadpool talks with the player, and this game is just insane and it makes this game amazing. We have Batman, Spider-Man, Wolverine and many more superhero games. I hope we get a new Deadpool game too. Condemned: Criminal Origins. The game is a genre of action horror from the first person with RPG element. Interesting and addictive. The graphics look good for 2006. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. From start to finish, Modern Warfare 3 seeks to bring you on a ridiculously explosive and action-packed ride. Tortuga 2 Treasures, a pirate-themed action-adventure game with swashbuckling sword fights and treasure hunting on the high seas. The Darkness 2. The Darkness 2 is a top-quality arcade FPS. The artistic component is simply delicious and is currently the best cel shading technique we've seen so far. Sniper Elite Nazi Zombie Army. An absolute superb game, great graphics, great gameplay, and a great single-player experience. Red Faction Guerrilla is similar to the Battlefield games, with its unique emphasis on environmental destruction and the demolition of buildings, features not offered by every other shooter game. It helps make the game fun when you can destroy any building you see. Battlefield: Bad Company 2. A decent single-player game, but a little on the short side and not much plot. Multiplayer is a blast, a superb alternative to Black Ops. Assassin's Creed 4: Black Flag. An energetic new protagonist and a focus on piracy and pillaging, excellent naval combat and a huge, beautiful open world make Black Flag an easy game to recommend. Alien vs Predator. Way scarier than the original. The graphics are great and the music and sound effects make for a very enjoyable if not nail-biting. Far Cry 3. By far the best in the Far Cry franchise is Far Cry 3. The game is set in a tropical island where you control Jason Brody, a guy who has lost everything. The graphics and gameplay were amazing and the story was really good. It is a must-buy and play. Dream 4 Chapters is a story-driven adventure game with complex characters and branching narratives, perfect for fans of narrative-focused games like The Walking Dead. Dead Space 2. Dead Space 2 builds on the feeling of dread and horror provided by the first title in its series and builds on it perfectly by adding elements of action. Call of Duty: A World at War. The single player isn't as compelling as Modern Warfare, but it's still worth playing nonetheless. The best part though is that there's a deep and satisfying multiplayer component waiting for you when you're done. Binary Domain. I was surprised, but this one. It's a game that is just fun to play. True, it's just the same as on the consoles, which is a shame, but graphics does not make a game more fun. Story is okay, and the dialogue between you and your squad can be funny at times. Race Driver Grid. Oh, look at that. What a crash. So, Grid has a great damage model and a fantastic driving experience that will satisfy fans of simulation as well as arcade racers. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, turn on the bell and share with your friends. It really means a lot. Thanks.